Okay, so I need to explain when you use, or we have kind of used the trig inverse. Okay, the negative when you see on the calculator. So on the calculator, when you hit your trigs, oops, these right here with the -1, those are the inverse, trig inverse of that trig function. So the inverse of sine, inverse of cosine, inverse of tangent. Now, what we're going to do is we only use that button. We only use the inverse when you're trying to find the angle measure. Okay? It's like doing the opposite. So let's think about this. Look at number 1. Sine of A equals x. Who's the angle for the first part? A. A is the angle. Okay? So the sine of angle A equals x. Now I'm going to do the inverse, means I'm going to switch them. I'm going to do the opposite. So the inverse sine of x would have to equal to what? A. Do you see who got switched? These two just got switched. Okay? So when I do the inverse, I'm now finding the measure of the angle. Okay? And I know I said A, but let me put it up there. Basically, that is giving me the measure of angle A. When I do the inverse, I'm getting the angle. So put this down. So on this next one, if cosine of A equals x, then the cosine inverse of x equals the measure of angle A. You see they switched it for you already. All right, so try number 3. If the tangent of A equals x, yeah, yeah, tan inverse of x, right, equals the measure of angle A. All right, so what we're going to work on today is making sure we can, one, identify the angle and do the tan inverse. This requires you to kind of think backwards. You're going to do the opposite. So on number 1, the sine of angle A equals the ratio of 4/5. Our trig functions, S is always what ratio? What parts do we compare? Opposite over hypotenuse. I'm going to write this down again. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So, and then, so, opposite over adjacent. All right, so if the sine of angle A is 4/5, which is opposite of our hypotenuse, then which number here would have to be angle A? Because if 4 is the opposite part, here's 4. What angle is opposite 4?
5.
Angle 2. So this would have to be angle 2. Angle A would have to be angle 2 for it to be 4/5. Does that make sense? You're doing the inverse. You're doing the opposite of what we have. So if a cosine of A, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. If I had 4/5, which angle would have to be A? What is it? What angle is adjacent to 4? Angle 1 is adjacent to 4. 4 is adjacent. 5 is the hypotenuse. We already know that's always the hypotenuse. So I look at the 4. Which angle is adjacent to angle to that side? Angle 1. So if I did cosine, this would be 4/5.
Yeah.
You're picking which one would have to be A.
Oh.
So on tangent of A, if I have 3/4, tangent of A, the ratio would equal 3/4. Which angle would have to be A to get 3/4? Yes, it has to be angle 1. Because it's opposite, which would be opposite of 3 would be 1. And then 4 would be adjacent.
So we going by like top, like sine opposite.
Yeah, it's pretty much you can look at the top to get the top number to figure out where the angle is at. All right, you got the next 3. Let's go. We are getting points for this. You're going to get a score for this. What you get for 7, Matthew? All right, we're moving on. Avery, what you get for 7? Sine of A, 3/5. That's angle 1. Y'all have a point. Cameron, do you have 8? Angle 2. We have cosine of 3/5. Yes, that is correct. We got a point. Justin, do you have number 9? Angle 1. For tangent, that is not correct. It's angle 2. Good try. Because we got to do opposite over adjacent. Alright, now make sure you have your calculator because all we're going to do is now plug these in using the trig inverse. All we're going to do is plug it in using the trig inverse. So we have sine inverse of 0.33. We're trying to get the angle measurement by doing that. So I'm just going to go to sine inverse 0.33, hit enter. But to find the angle or to write your answer, nearest degree would mean nearest whole number. Okay, because our degrees we're not going to have decimal. So round this to the nearest whole number. That's just 19. That's our answer. Okay, this is 19 degrees. So if I do nearest degree, you're going to go to nearest whole number. Now, being that no decimal answers, yes. So being that all we have to do is plug this in the calculator, you are doing 11 through 15 right now. 15, because it's a mixed number, you're going to have to do the 10 inverse of 2 plus the 3/4 to get 2 and 3/4. I'm just giving you a hint. We're doing this with our calculators. We're checking this. There's no excuse for this not to get done. All you have to do is type it in. Okay. We're going to finish 16 through 18, and then we're going to finish your worksheet. So, on 16, you have to use a calculator and inverse trigonometric ratios to find the unknown signs, lengths, and angle measures. We're going to round to the nearest hundredths and to nearest degree. Alright, who knows how many decimal places would be for the nearest hundred?
1, 2.
Yeah, so this would be 2 decimal places. Alright, but if I do nearest degree, what would that be? Whole number, okay. Alright, so on number 16, you have to identify what's given so you can determine what to do to solve the problem. On 16, all they gave us was the right angle and the leg and the hypotenuse. Do you have any angle measurements? No. What they want you to find first is AC. So I'm going to put an X there. To find that leg in the right triangle, what formula could you use? Yeah, no, Pythagorean. We can't use trig. We have to have an angle to use trig. So if there's no angle, if you have no angle, you have to use a squared plus b squared equals c squared to find the missing side length. So what I would do here, I would do x squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared. So write that down. Then I would say, what is 4 squared? What's 4 squared? 16. What's 5 squared? 25. Okay, so I need to get the x squared by itself. Subtract the 16. So I get x squared equals 9. So what is x? 3. Because you take the square root.
Oh, yeah, true.
So AC is 3. Yes.
How did you use x squared?
Because we have no angles. If there are no angles, you have to use Pythagorean theorem to find the side. Alright, now they want us to find the measure of angle B. I'm just going to put an arc there, and I'm going to put a question mark, because that's what I'm trying to find. Since that's the angle we're trying to find, now I'm going to label the parts in relationship to that angle. The 5 is the hypotenuse, because anything opposite the right angle is always the hypotenuse. David, what is 4 in relationship to angle B? Yes, it's adjacent. So we're going to label the 4 adjacent. Now we're going to have to do trig. I'm writing, so hopefully you got that written down. Alright, so what trig function deals with adjacent and hypotenuse? Cosine. Now, because we're trying to find the angle, this is when you do the inverse. So I'm going to write cosine inverse, and I'm going to do adjacent over hypotenuse, which would be 4 over 5. This is what you have to put in the calculator. This is why it says you're going to have to use your calculator to find that angle measure. So on your calculator, trig, we're going to go cosine inverse. We're going to do 4 divided by 5. And we're going to round to the nearest degree. 37 is correct. 37 degrees. So angle B is 37. Now, if I know angle B is 37, and this is a right triangle, the angle B and C, any two angles are going to be complementary. So all I have to do is subtract from 90 to get angle C. Yeah, 90 minus 37, 53. So there's going to be 3 parts to each problem that we're going to solve on the back of your worksheet. So we're going to do these to make sure you have stuff, Avery. Now, look at number 17. Get something in your hand and write when I'm writing. You don't have none of this written down. Stop spectating and just watching me, because then eventually you're going to come over there to my desk and ask me what we just did. You just did it today. Yeah, that's how I know. All right. They want us to find DE. That's what we're looking for. Now, do you have an angle here? Yes. When you have an angle, now we can use trig. If I don't have an angle, I cannot use trig. I have to have an acute angle. So, you circle the angle. That's the 51. We now look. X would be what part? It's the opposite. And then 18 is the hypotenuse. So what function can we use for that?
So the first part.
Sine. We can use a sine. All right, so we're going to do sine of 51 equals opposite over hypotenuse, which is 18. X is on top. So we multiply. So basically, we're going to type in the calculator 18 times the sine of 51. So on our calculator, we're just going to go 18 times. Is it because I'm doing everything for you, Avery? Is that why? I can do less. Yeah, we're going to do 2 decimal places. Yes, 13.99. 13.99. Because it's not an angle. If it was an angle that we're looking for, then it would be 14. Uh-huh. Alright, now we got to find EF. So now I'm trying to find EF is this side. I'm going to erase this a little bit. Yeah, EF is adjacent. Okay, so what trig function deals with adjacent? Yeah, cosine. Adjacent and hypotenuse would be cosine. So I'm going to do the cosine of 51 equals adjacent over hypotenuse, which is 18. So now we're just going to do multiply with cosine. You do the same thing. Now you're going to multiply. Yes, sir? If they give you an angle, yes. You talking about for the second part? You can use Pythagorean theorem once you have one. Once you have 2 sides, you can do Pythagorean theorem. It'll give you the same answer. Okay? Okay. You had it at testimony. You haven't even done anything yet. Listen to you on the last one we're doing together, 18. To find GH. That's my unknown, GH. What are you going to use? Yeah, why? No angles are given. Good. Okay, give yourself a point on that right there. Thank you for being attentive and able to answer questions. I'm assuming now that you know it, you're going to do it. So do Pythagorean theorem on 18. We should have basically x squared plus 15 squared equals 17 squared. 17 is the hypotenuse. Yes. Plug what in? You should have 8 for GH. Now, we need to find angle H. That missing angle there. 17 is the hypotenuse. If I put 8 here, okay, that's adjacent. So what could I use if I use adjacent hypotenuse? Cosine. Now, because we're trying to find the angle, you now have to do the inverse of 8 over 17. Put that in your calculator and let's see if we can get the angle measure. You could. You could. You get the same answer. You'll get the same answer. Yeah, it works. Alright, so we should have 62 degrees. Well, if H is 62, how do I find the measure angle 1? Excuse me. Yeah, 90 minus that 62. Alright, 28. Are we good on that?
Yeah. Question with that part.
Huh? The Pythagorean part?
Yeah.
Okay, so this was 225. This was 289. Then you should have subtracted the 2.
225.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that would have gave me 64.
Gotcha.
And then take the square root. Alright.